Welcome to me screaming into the void. This time we'll be talking about Shyamalan movies. I will be ranking them worst to best. And the ranking will be solely based on my highly subjective opinion. So take the ranking with a grain of salt, because I know some of you will be very mad about the ranking. And some of you will think that some movies deserve another placing than they did. I have decided that this is going to be a fun exercise for me. And I spent the last 2 months watching each and every Shyamalan movie almost ever made, apart from some. I have not rewatched The Last Airbender. I just couldn't do it. Okay? I couldn't do it. Okay? I'm sorry. This is just... Mm-mm. And I've decided that I will base this list on the typical Shyamalanian experience. Meaning, is he appearing in this movie? Is there a twist in this movie? And is there a slight horror element to this movie? Then this movie shall be in the ranking. Okay? And based on that, I have decided, for the sake of my own sanity, that I will not put Wide Awake, Praying with Anger, After Earth, and The Last Airbender in it, because I don't want to. I did, however, watch After Earth again. It's not on the list. I will not subject myself to that. So here we are, filming this video, because it's been itching my brain for a while, and I just, when you have it, and you have this nagging feeling that you just have to do it, you just have to speak about it, you just have to, even though it might be exactly half a person watching this, and they might even fall asleep by the time I'm done with the intro, because guess what? We're still at the intro. As I said before, this Unhinged, and that's why it's called Unhinged ranking, from worst to best, is unhinged because it is very much just my opinion. So let's start with this unhinged madness, starting with, in my opinion, the worst, which is Old. Old is about this magical beach that causes people to age rapidly. So the twist, if there is one, and there will be others, is in the title. Why is it the worst? Because this movie is literally drowning, no pun intended, in over-explanatory dialogue and just... But I don't know, the actors were just not meshing. It feels like nobody really thought about the chemistry that these actors had and just thought, yes, this is a massive cast of awesome people and they shall be in my movie. That's what Shyamalan must have thought, right? Because if you look at the casting of this movie, we have Gael Garcia, who actually is a good actor. We have Vicky Creeps, who should also be a good actor. I love Rufus Sewell. Anyway, he plays this unhinged doctor. Alex Wolff, who, I'm sorry, but in this movie, I just cringed. We will come to that, why I cringed so hard. But Abby Lee and Rufus Sewell, sorry. I'm sorry. They were my favorite part, okay? So you have this bunch of cast, and you notice already in the beginning as they arrive at this hotel, and everything is very beautifully made. It seems very 5-star. It seems very welcoming. That each of them have kind of some physical problems, except for the children. They are driven by nobody else than Night M. Shyamalan, with the bus to this beach where they can relax, and he shoves like this crate full of food into their arms, and it's like, you're gonna need it, the kids need a lot of food. I'm like, even for a day, these kids are like 6. I'm not sure if they need that much food, but yeah, sure. Not at all suspicious. Anyway, little did they know they're gonna start aging as soon as they arrive. And you have this camera thing that Shyamalan tried, and I I'm pretty sure that's the first time he did it, where when all the cast is talking, because there are so many of them, and they are trying to figure out what's happening at this beach, the camera is going from one face to the other, right? So it's turning and it's turning and it's turning and it's making me seasick. Yes, there is going to be a lot of puns for this particular movie review. I hope I won't be spending too much time on each movie, or my editor is gonna lose her shit. What else was bad about this movie? So, as you might have thought, since this movie is called Old and the twist is literally in the title, which makes, again, this movie the worst for me, the kids start growing up real quickly. I don't know what it is about these actors who then play a 6-year-old as teenagers, but it's very awkward and I don't believe them. It's like, imagine me acting as a 6-year-old, which it's not hard to imagine. But in this case, it's really weird. Especially the kid played by Alex Wolff and then later on played by this 40-year-old man that I have never seen this actor in my life. It's so awkward. It's just so awkward watching them. Maybe I should explain some of the characters, because you have this couple who's already fighting in the hotel, played by Gael Garcia and Vicky Creeps. And they just don't mesh. I've seldom seen two actors who are supposed to be married who mesh less than these two have. And they have kids. And at some point, there is also this doctor played by Rufus who starts losing his mind, because if he would have aged normally at some point in his maybe 70s, he would have gotten dementia or something. So already now he's like losing his mind. He's talking about Marlon Brando and this movie, and I don't get it. And he's like, where is this movie from? Anyway, so the wife, Vicky Creeps, she cuts him with a rusty knife, cuts the doctor with a rusty knife because he's attacking them, because he doesn't know where he is and he doesn't know what's happening. Then she says like, yeah, it's rust. It acts like poison. I'm like, no shit, dude. I saw that the knife is rusty. So yeah, I know it acts like poison. And you keep having these scenes where they're like, yeah, your tumor is growing at a quick rate because everything at this beach happens really quickly because we all seem to be growing older. Or, my kids, there is something wrong with my kids. Something's very wrong. Can't you see? They seem so different. I'm like, again, no shit, dude. I can see that they have gotten older. Also, I'm not surprised because this movie, again, is literally called Old. And I'm gonna harp on this for a while because this is the worst movie, so we're just gonna sit on this for a while. And Sir, Mr. Sir Night Shyamalan, we will get to your better movies. That's why I kept them for last. But what the hell was this? What were you thinking? And it could have been so much better. Like, call the movie The Beach. Huh? Maybe. Don't let characters over-explain every single thing. Maybe. Like, let the action play out. And for crying out loud, every time somebody talks, you can also just do cuts to faces. Or you can make groups of people together, right? You can cut to 3 people talking to each other, and then the other 3 people talking to each other, and maybe the kids having intercourse. Yes, the 6-year-olds have intercourse as teenagers, and there is a baby being born because everything happens so quickly. And the baby, of course, dies because it lacks nutrients and it cannot pick it up on time, because that also has been over-explained. Ah! Ah! This is the thought I had while watching this movie. I was watching this movie like, is it just me? Okay. So, enough said about the bad stuff of this movie. Let's get to the twist. Spoiler, if you haven't seen this movie, the twist is not just that people age at this bit. that these people age at this beach, yes, very rapidly. It is that it's an observatory for scientists. And you see a little glimmer already in the beginning of the movie, and you're like, what could that be? And then you see Shyamalan's second appearance, because he's a scientist observing them from a high cliff on the side, not at the beach, like far away. And he has these binoculars, and he's looking at what's happening. And what we figure out is that Big Pharma is behind it. They're figuring out how to, first of all, they invite only people to the hotel who, not only people, there's also normal people having hotel vacations, but they only drive people to this beach from that hotel who have certain issues with their health, except for the kids. Poor kids. I feel bad for the kids. That's like, who, why? Who, what the hell? Seriously, kids. They give them test drugs in the beginning of the movie at the hotel to then figure out during this trial that really speeds up the whole process whether this drug works or not. And that's how they are able to make more drugs for the sake of humanity. And that's a theme that you will see throughout a lot of movies that he has made. It's always for the greater good. Everything happens for a reason. And just in this movie, I was just so mad at this movie that by the time the twist came, I was like, yeah, cool, twist, Shyamalan, awesome. And my absolute favorite part was Avi Lee's character, who starts getting brittle bones while she ages. And she's actually this very beautiful woman married to this doctor, and oh my God. And I call it the don't look at me scene, because she chases the kids into these ravines. No, not ravines. What are they called? So the beach is surrounded by rocks, massive rocks, and they are all cave-like. And every time a character tries to escape the beach, they get sick and they faint and they land back on the beach. And the kids then try to escape through these rock-like caves, and Abilie's character is getting really mad at them because she's getting old and she cannot deal with it, because most probably she's also vain, and then she suffers from these brittle bones. So she tries to lift rocks and throw it at the kids, and her bones start breaking, and through that you also heal rapidly at this beach. Everything that breaks heals broken. So you have this just bone breaking, rock chucking, body horror, intense, creepy scene of her just crawling through these caves and just. It was just beautiful. That I have to give to him. That was first class. Okay, so thank you for that. And what I also liked was Gael Garcia and Vicky Creep's characters are getting old, and she cannot hear anymore and he cannot see anymore, and they just sit at this beach and they reconcile because they were fighting, and they kind of grow old together. That was also very sweet. Yeah, so that was old, and it's on the last tier. I will try to keep it short for the next ones. Wish me luck. Next movie, Lady in the Water. Short form of it. So there is this, it's a fairy tale kind of a thing. So you have Cleveland, who's played by the wonderful Paul Giamatti, is a superintendent, and he rescues Story, who's a narf, from the Scrunts. I can't believe I said that. But those are words that are actually in the script. The Scrunts are these grass-like wolf creatures, and it's a whole fairy tale about her having to wait for a massive eagle, I think it's an eagle, who rescues her, okay? And on the way to this rescue, you have all these fairy-esque mystic creatures who need to protect her and heal her. Shyamalan plays himself in this movie front and center. He plays this writer who is supposed to find, write this story that will save humanity. Yes, 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 you heard that right. Shyamalan inserted himself into this movie as the hero of humanity. There is already a big no-no for me, like a massive, big doo-doo no-no. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Did you just insert yourself? Really? So we have this entire apartment complex that Cleveland tends to, and in each apartment you have these different characters. And again, the cast was really good. The cast was really good, as usual. So the Narf story, she needs water. And I feel very bad for the actress who's played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who usually is really good. But in this movie, I just kept feeling cold just watching her because she was either in Cleveland's shirt without anything else on, or she was naked under the shower. That was her during the entire movie. Or then she was in the swimming pool and then she gets attacked by scrunts. That was basically it. So that was a very irritable moment for me because I was like, give this woman some clothes, or maybe dampen the clothes and let her wear them like that, or let her just be in the pool. The whole story is that these characters, all these tenants from these different apartments that Cleveland is tending to, have a certain reason to be there. And they are one of those mystic creatures that need to help the Narf escape the scrunts. The twist of this whole thing is that while Cleveland is trying to figure out who is which mystic creature that will help the Narf escape the scrunts, he gets it wrong. And actually, it's the other ones who are the guardians, and it's the other ones who are the, I don't know, man, just people helping her, okay? And he gets it wrong. That's the twist. And you keep seeing Shyamalan throughout the movie because he's writing this book. It's supposed to help humanity. Do we get any satisfaction in that except for him repeating it over and over again in this movie? No. Now, favorite part of this movie. I kid you not, I fell asleep 4 times during exactly the same scene, and every time woke up when the final titles scrolled. Okay? Every single time. And I got so mad because I had to rewind and start from that scene again. And as soon as that scene hit, I fell asleep again. Could it be that I was so sick at that time that I didn't have the capacity to concentrate on it? Yes. However, I've watched other movies of his while I was sick, and I did not fall asleep 4 times. So, here we are. Again, his camera work was brilliant. I mean, this guy knows his work. So I like that too. Next movie in the list. We are finally coming to Trap. Now, listen. Why is this not the worst of the worst? I know what you're thinking. For those who have watched it, this movie is Shyamalan's Nepo Baby edition featuring his daughter. I don't know how many songs of hers playing throughout the movie in almost full length. That wasn't even the worst part because she's got the pipes. She's really good. I mean, no nepotism there. I mean, yes, nepotism there because she's got the money and she's got the means. Are there other people who are as talented? Sure. But the world is the way that it is, and we can't do much about that. That's why I'm doing YouTube videos and not movies. Anyway, back to Trap. This movie is it's a cat and mouse thriller. You have Josh Hartnett, who plays the butcher. And yes, it's already spoiled in the trailer, so the twist isn't the twist. because he plays a serial killer who goes to this concert of Lady Raven with his daughter. But little did he know, I knew before he knew, because there was police everywhere and they all had machine guns. So basically the summary is he goes to this pop concert and you have the FBI who's led by this geriatric granny. I'm sorry, but seriously, you want me to believe that the FBI was led by a sweet old grandma? So there is this trap set for the butcher because they found a little piece of the Lady Raven concert ticket in one of his abandoned buildings. No way! So once he enters the venue, he quickly notices all these things and he talks to t-shirt guy who explains to him in detail, like, my dude, you know that this is a trap. You're working for the concert venue. You got briefed and you're explaining to some random white dude that could be the butcher, because everyone knows that the butcher is a random white dude, the whole thing about the trap, and even tell him that there is a code word that is Hamilton in case the FBI asks one of the workers? Okay, sure, absolutely. So we have like half of the movie just playing at the concert. Then you have the other half of the movie of him telling Lady Raven to get out of the concert because, mouse trapped, blah, blah. That she needs to get them out because he's the butcher. And if she doesn't, then his next victim will die. Look at this video. Look at it. Look at it. And she's like, oh no. And this is where the worst part happens of this movie. Because as long as Shyamalan's daughter was singing on stage, you were like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, it's very long and I don't get why there is so much. I mean, it's a pop concert. Okay. There is a lot of singing. We even have Russ shirtless in a raincoat appearing at some point. Shirtless in a raincoat. And we have Kid Cudi's appearance. Then the worst part happens of this movie. Lady Raven, Shyamalan's daughter, acting. There is the scene where she's at his place and then she grabs his phone and locks herself in the bathroom because she's trying to rescue the victim, because he keeps blackmailing her that if she does anything wrong, the victim will die. So she grabs his phone. I don't know how she gets his thumbprint or face recognition, but she enters into the phone, and you would think that with an app where he can observe his victims via video, that it would be more secure. But here we are. And Lady Raven is like, on her own live chat on the other phone, like, hi guys, so can any of you help me? Like, this guy is trapped and I need your help. Please help. Yeah, it was really bad. So they rescue the guy hugs her, she gets to his place, even though I don't think anybody ever informed her where the guy was held. So there's a lot of shenanigans happening. The twist.
One eternity later.
The twist was that his wife knew he was the butcher, and she was the one who left the concert ticket at one of his places because she had followed him. So he then gets back home and his wife explains to him, yes, it was me. And then she starts crying and he's like, you know what I gotta do now? And then he takes off his shirt and is half naked in the kitchen eating pie that she offered him. And she poisons him, and the FBI lady enters the house, and he thinks it's his mom because he keeps hallucinating his mom, and he gets caught by the FBI. And then the third twist is that while he's sitting in the FBI van all tied up, he is able to get out of his handcuffs with a bicycle spoke that he had grabbed while saying goodbye to his son and repairing his cycle. And then he stares at the camera, laughing maniacally. You already caught my dislikes about this movie. Those are very clear. Kudos to Shyamalan's daughter. I think it was, yeah. I saw in an interview, I think it was her idea. And in the beginning, they had like 20 plus songs that were supposed to be in this movie. But thankfully, that was not the case. We got less, even though it was still too much. I love the campy vibes that this movie is giving off. Okay, I just love it. It's like, I think Josh Hartnett realized what this was and just ran with it and went full camp. Even the intense stares into the camera. There's a couple of times where he's like, while talking to people, and the camera is just deadpan in his face, and you're like, okay, okay. Yeah, so those were my favorite parts. Josh Hartnett. Ah, yes, I almost forgot. Shyamalan, of course, appears in this movie, and he plays the uncle of Lady Raven. On to the next. So, those, in my opinion, are the worst movies. Yes, I know. Everyone is asking what's happening with the happening. It's coming. It's coming. Just you wait. We're getting to the mid tier of the movies, okay? And we are starting off with Knock at the Cabin. Now, Knock at the Cabin is apocalyptic vibes, but make it cabin core. Pretty much. So you have four strangers who invade this family's cabin, who are there on a vacation, demanding that they sacrifice one of themselves to save the world, which is insane. Like, if anybody broke into a cabin I was vacationing in with my better half, I mean, luckily the couple, they reacted exactly as I would have, and they start just going insane on these people and just hitting them. So you have the couple, who are played by Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge. I love Jonathan Groff. Okay. He is awesome in Mindhunters. I also liked him here. And you have these four characters played by Dave Bautista, Rupert Grint. Yes, he's in it, but only for a short while, thankfully. Abby Quinn and Nikki Amuka Bird. I like her. She was also in Old. And they're trying to convince this family that if they don't sacrifice one of their own, the world will end. And every time they say, no, we're not going to do it, one of these four invaders, I'm going to call them invaders, kill one of their own. And this, of course, goes on until Dave Bautista kills himself. And you have Jonathan Groff then quasi-sacrificing himself for the greater good. I kind of liked this movie because this couple has been through a lot, like a lot, and you see it every time in the flashbacks. They were attacked at some point, then how they had to lie that Jonathan is married to a woman while they adopt the little girl. So they have a lot of, like, not hatred, just they're not happy with humanity. And I get it. I get it completely. So the fact that they have to sacrifice their own happiness to save the entire human race is like, F you. I'm not going to do that. Are you crazy? I liked the conflict a lot. I liked it because me, as a watcher, I was like, F no, you crazy? I'm not going to sacrifice myself for what? For these people? And with these people, I mean the entire human race? No. The twist in this whole thing is that in the beginning, you think it's just your typical home invasion, and these guys are nuts. Absolutely crazy. Because if you have four strangers invading your home and they tell you you have to kill one of your own to save the human race, I would be like, from which cult are you, sir? Let me quickly Google. No, absolutely not. I shall not. And the twist is in the end that everything is real and it really happened. And these four invaders are actually the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I think Shyamalan is in this movie at some point. I don't remember where. Ah, yes, yes. Now I remember. So every time that these people, the couple doesn't believe them, they kill off one of their own, and then they switch on the TV to show them some terrible thing that happened. And during one of those times where they switch on the TV, there is an infomercial, and Shyamalan is kind of introducing something. I don't remember what, but he's like, "Hi guys, so today we're gonna introduce to you, I'm guessing, let's say this Tupperware." So that was pretty hilarious. My favorite parts: Jonathan Groff as Daddy Eric. I'm sorry, just likable, warm, wonderful, beautiful. Love this guy. More of him, please, and thank you. Then at the half an hour mark, I think, there is this wonderful axe chopping camera work where Dave Bautista lifts his axe and then he slams it down and the camera goes with him, and you have this unhinged, like, you know, camera angle. Loved that too. And in general, the camera choices were really very beautiful. And I liked it a lot. And that's why it's in the mid tier. I kind of hated this movie just because I felt bad for the couple and what they had to go through. And then for them to give their happiness up for the greater good just made me very mad. And that's why it's in the mid tier and not. I know. It should be in the better, but it's not because I don't like this point of view. I just don't like it. If the world were to end, I would be like, good, good. Next, we have The Village. Ooh, people are gonna hate me for this. Ooh, people are gonna hate me for these. Let me explain. The Village is about this idyllic, old-timey village that has a dark secret. There is terrifying monsters in the woods, and they come out at night, and they mark the doors with red if any of them have been naughty. And none of them are allowed to wander into the woods, and everyone is supposed to stay in the village. This movie is also, at its core, a love story about Ivy, who's blind, again played by Bryce Dallas Howard. It's the third movie she's in. And Joaquin Phoenix. And it's about jealousy because Adrian Brody, who plays kind of the village idiot, if I may say so, because it's literally that. It's the trope, okay? I didn't invent it. This is how it is. And the cast again is like full, a plethora of good people in it. As I already said, we have Joaquin Phoenix, we have Bryce Dallas Howard, we have the great Sigourney Weaver, you have William Hurt, you have Brendan Gleeson. So at its core, you have Joaquin Phoenix and Ivy, who are kind of in love, and Adrian Brody, who's actually in love with Ivy. And then he sees that Joaquin Phoenix and Ivy are getting closer. And when they kind of announce it, that they're kind of, dating in this villagey kind of way of the 1800s, he, spoiler alert, stabs Joaquin Phoenix because he's jealous. And Joaquin Phoenix lies on the floor and is bleeding out. And Ivy, the only blind person in the village, says, I have to rescue him. I'm going to go through the woods and I'm going to find medicine. And the elders are like, nah, you can't. But here is some magic rocks to help you through the woods. No, really? You're going to send your blind daughter? I'm pretty sure she's one of the daughters of one of the elders, because the elders like rule the village. It's like this really culty vibe that we're getting. They just give her magic rocks and two dudes who decide in the middle of it all to leave her alone in the woods and are like, nah, nah, nah. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. And then she gets attacked by one of these monsters that are in the woods. And she steps aside, and then the monster, because she can feel the hole in front of her, There's like this massive hole in the ground, and she knows it's there. And she can feel the monster from behind trying to attack her. And then she moves to the side, and the monster falls into the hole, and the monster dies. And spoiler alert, it's Adrian Brody. So she gets to the road, and there is a car, and she doesn't know what the sound is because she's never heard a car, because she thinks she's in the 1800s. And it's this park trooper who's like, "What's happening? Are you coming from the woods?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're not supposed to be there." And she's like, "Yeah, but I live there." And he's like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "You have to help me. I have to rescue the love of my life, and I need this medicine." And it's like, "Okay." And he goes to the trooper cabin, I guess. And his boss is like, "You're not supposed to talk to anyone. Did you talk to anyone?" And he's like, "No, I didn't talk to anyone." "Okay, because you're not supposed to talk to anyone." And judging by the voice, I knew it was Shyamalan. You'll only see him when he opens the cabin of the medicine, when he opens the medicine cabin, and you see it in the reflection of the glass, that he's the one reading the newspaper and being the boss. And then the glass closes again, and you're like, oh, there he was. And then the guy gives her medicine, and she gets back from the woods, and she rescues Joaquin Phoenix. We got the twisties. It's not the 1800s, it's modern times. The monsters are just elders in the costumes trying to keep everyone, in line so that nobody escapes the woods and doesn't discover that there is an entire modern world out there. And it's a social experiment by the elders who are trying to protect their flock from the bad, bad world, the bad, bad outside world, because all of them have been through trauma. Favorite parts. There is this really dumbass scene. I'm sorry, but you have Ivy who's blind, and everyone knows the monsters are coming, so they're all hiding in like these underground things that they have in their homes. Lift, and you go down. And Ivy is the only one, and she's waiting for Joaquin Phoenix, and she's like, "No, he'll come and rescue me." And she just blindly doing this outside the door. And then right at the very last second where you see the monster on the other side, you see Ashton, his hand just swooping in and grabbing her, and fudge, they all go down in that thingy hideaway. So I like that, even though it was really dumb. I just feel like this movie is not the best because it just kind of fizzles out. You have this strong start and it just bleh, just. I guess the Shyamalanian way got lost a bit because there is a meaning behind why the elders went there, but yeah, that was about it. Next, you're gonna hate me for this because I feel like this movie was, to me, more fun than The Village, and that's The Happening. Let me explain. So basically, in this movie, Shyamalan made, twist alert, spoiler alert, the plants the villains. It starts in such a brilliant way. That's why also I like this movie so much, because it starts so well. You have this uncanny feeling in this very normal, everyday life scene in the big city where people are in the park, and then suddenly one woman who was talking to the other woman stops talking and offs herself. And then you have the scene at this construction site where the construction worker who are up on the top of the building just throw themselves off the building, and you just have these thuds happening everywhere, like, and it is so uncanny. I loved it so much. And now comes my favorite part. Mark Wahlberg as a teacher. Marky Mark as a teacher. And Zoe Deschanel as his girlfriend. And it's just, I've never seen two people being less compatible on screen than these two. But I love it. And this movie is basically, you follow these two, and then a bunch of other characters, also, by the way, played by Leguizamo, who kills himself at some point, and so on and so forth. And they go from point A to point B to point C. while trying to escape this terrorist attack because nobody knows what's happening and everyone thinks that maybe it's like some airborne biotech. And you only realize in the end, here's the twist, that there's neurotoxins being released by the plants because they've had enough of humanity. And only in one particular part of America, like a very specific part, this all takes place just there. And every time they release it in the wind, people have this innate feeling of offing themselves. It's so campy. I love it. You just have these parts where, like, one part where Mark Wahlberg just talks to a plant while they were escaping. They're in somebody's house, and there is this plant while she's peeing in the toilet, and he's like, I'm just here to talk in a positive manner and to use the bathroom. And then he realizes it's a plastic plant, and he's like, I'm talking to a plastic plant. Great. And then it just suddenly stops. But then, did it stop? Because in Paris, it's happening again. So I like this a lot. I love the plot. I love that plants are Thanosing the humans. I like this innate fear of nature versus humanity. And I like that. I love the dialogues. They're so bad. They're absolutely atrocious. And yet so much fun. As I said, if you look at this movie from a campy, fun point of view, you will enjoy it. The cast was cool, and you will not believe this. We have a very brief appearance by Jeremy Strong. Yes, that Jeremy Strong from Succession, who plays Kendall Roy. And it's bad. He plays the soldier, and he's like, guys, we have realized that it's most probably the plants who are attacking us. We must go. And for him to have turned around and made such a success with Kendall Roy is just peak. Love it. Next, Glass. In order to know more about Glass, we must know that it's a trilogy, and it's the last movie from this trilogy that starts with Unbreakable, continues with Split, and ends with Glass. We will talk about the other two movies, obviously. So let's just keep it to Glass. That is basically Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, and Samuel L. Jackson, who play superhumans. We get to know that these people are superhumans through the other two movies that we have watched. And since I want to talk about those later, I will just keep the storyline as brief as possible. You have McAvoy. He has dissociative identity disorder, and one of his identities is has superhuman strength and even changes body type mass. You have Mr. Glass, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, who has this disease where all his bones are so brittle that they can break just by you looking at them. But he's hyper intelligent. Like, he's so intelligent that nobody can really keep up with him. And then you have Bruce Willis, who will survive anything and everything as long as it doesn't involve water, and also has superhuman strength. These three people are basically put into a loony bin that is led by Dr. Staple, played by Sarah Paulson before she started her crying career in movies. I'm sorry, but I can't see her anymore in movies because she seems to only accept roles or be given roles where she cries in Sarah Paulson. So they get stuck in there because she's like, hey, you're actually not superhuman. And she's trying to brainwash them into thinking that they're not superhuman. So after she does that, and most of them actually really start thinking that this might really be the case, most of them, Bruce starts, yeah, they kind of are convinced about it, except for Samuel L. Jackson, who's just plotting in the background. I love that so much. He just plays this catatonic person And then in the end, he just orchestrates the most massive escape plan slash not escape plan, because there is two twists. On one hand, Sarah Paulson is part of this organization that is dedicated to keep superhumans a secret, because the world was being able to function without them for so long. They don't need a Superman to rescue them. In the beginning, you see that she sets up everywhere cameras, every single where. There's a camera, there's a camera, so that she can basically keep them all in check. And Mr. Glass noticed that, and he hacks into the system to be able to steal all this video footage. And in the end, he releases the footage into the world. And there is this beautiful scene, because, spoiler again, all three characters die in the end because it's a suicide mission. And Mr. Glass knew that from the beginning. And it was less about them escaping and more about showing to the world that superhumans exist, and kind of spreading the word and like incentivizing, I guess, hope, which is nice. And I liked the fight scenes a lot, because, you know, you had McAvoy attacking the soldiers with the guns in the end outside of the mental institution. And you had Bruce Willis drowning. I hated that part so much. In the end, there's this one soldier, because Bruce Willis is deathly affected by water, who drowns him in a little puddle, while Sarah Paulson says, we don't need superhumans. We have lived hundreds of years without you. We don't need you now, and we need to keep you all in check. And I will go from town to town, and I will rescue humanity from superhumans, I guess. We don't need gods to live among us. My favorite parts. There is a lot of Rick Cam, not a lot, but there is in the beginning a Rick Cam POV sequence, and then there is one in the end. And I like that because Shyamalan was at it again. And I also liked the whole suicide mission part of it all, like for the greater good. Again, the Shyamalan-esque of it all made it fun. All right. Finish the mid tier. Let's get to the best ones. And we start the best with the worst-ish, in my opinion. But again, take it with a grain of salt, because this movie, it's gonna piss a lot of people off that I'm not putting it in the top 3. Science, with Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix and one of the Culkin brothers. This movie is basically an alien invasion movie with very religious undertones, even though Shyamalan does state that he's not religious. I mean, at least not in a Christian way. And Mel Gibson plays this widowed father of 2 kids and is helped by his brother, Joaquin Phoenix, to raise these kids. And you notice that he used to be a priest or a preacher or something like that, and he lost his faith because his wife died in a tragic accident. This movie heavily focuses on everything happens for a reason. And that is why it's not in my top 3, because it's like really blatantly obvious. So this family owns a farm and they notice crop circles and they're like, And every character has like these traits that somehow then converge into, oh my God, yes, makes sense. So the son, played by one of the Culkins, has asthma. His daughter keeps leaving glasses full of water all over the house, and Mel Gibson doesn't seem to be bothered to put them away, so the glasses remain. Joaquin Phoenix used to be a really good batter, and the mother died in a tragic accident. Story goes on, alien breaks into the house. Yes, the person who caused Gibson's tragic accident is Shyamalan, and he still feels bad, and he says something about aliens. The alien breaks into the house. They hide out in the basement. Then the alien breaks into a house the second time during the daytime. And there is all these classes. And then Mel Gibson remembers something that his wife told him. She's like, swing away or something. And he tells Joaquin Phoenix, like, swing away, swing away. And Joaquin Phoenix takes the batters right beside him, and he swings away, and the glasses break, and the water falls on the alien, and the alien gets hurt. And then he takes he already has Mel Gibson's son, and he runs out of the house with his son and tries to poison him with this thing that comes out of his. And his son has an asthmatic episode right at that moment, so he won't be breathing in the toxins, so he survives, and that's how it converges everything. My problem with this whole thing is that the big twist of the aliens' weakness being water, when the earth is made out of 70% of water. And what if it rained during their alien invasion time? You see where I'm going with this? It's like very weird. And if they're already that intelligent that they were able to land on planet Earth and, know to hide in the shadows and blah, 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 you want to tell me they didn't know that the planet was made out of 70% of the deadliest thing that could kill them? I mean, the whole everything happens for a reason is so on the nose in this movie that it's kind of fatiguing a little bit. And in the end, he like believes again and Mel Gibson believes again and becomes religious again, and everything is hunky dory. It was fine. It was fine, and that's why it's in the top. I liked the acting. I liked the aliens. I liked it a lot. There were a couple of scenes that were a lot of fun, like when Mel Gibson puts like knife underneath the door and sees the alien. That was fun. So yeah, it was good. Next, The Visit. Yes. I liked it more than, and yes, I liked it more than I did Science. Why? Because he leaned into camp. And also, it was the first movie he did after The Last Airbender and After Earth, where you were like, oh, thank God he's back. Okay, it was a bad dream. We woke up and Shyamalan has realized that, he needs to get back on the Shyamalan train and do what he does best. The Visit is in found footage style, and it has a big twist, and I love the twist too. And it's very dark humor mixed with creepy vibes. You have these two siblings who visit their grandparents while their mother is on a cruise. Simple, right? And the little boy, he decides to film the entire thing for his mom to share the experience. And it's all filmed from the kid's perspective, sometimes from the grandparents, depending on whether they're grabbing the camera or not. And it just allows the movie to be way more intimate and fun because you're literally in it. The grandparents seem to be very nice in the beginning. They're always smiling, they're baking, cooking, but they are noticing that after the sun sets, grandma gets really weird. And grandpa explains it away by saying that she's sundowning. And she has this condition that makes her act very erratic at night. And this strange behavior just keeps escalating throughout the movie. And there is this couple of scenes that are just so creepy. Like you have brother and sister, they're going underneath the house through these crawl spaces and they're playing hide and seek. And they don't notice that in the background, grandma is just purring all over the place. And it's so creepy. Something about old people who act like that, it just gives me the heebie jeebies. And the big twist is that the grandparents are not their grandparents, and their grandparents' dead bodies are in the basement. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Grandparents are imposters. And when this revelation comes, this movie goes full horror mode. There are these very uncanny camera angles, like where the grandma shoves the granddaughter into the oven to clean it. I was getting such Hansel and Gretel vibes, which I get. That's what he was going for. And with that, he just made it way more camp by saying, hey, I'm going full on into that territory. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. And if you do, this movie is for you. And in the end, they're like, Mom, Dad, Mom, because there's no dad. They're not our real grandparents. Come and rescue us. And in the end, there is police sirens and the kids are rescued and everything is fine again. And yes, it was at that time when you watched it and you have been following Shyamalan for a long while, it was nice to see that he was getting back and dipping his toe back into the territory he knows best. The only thing that I would have left out, but even that made the movie more camp than anything else, was the brother rapping. It was really bad. It was really cringy and bad. And in the end, the sister leaves in an entire part where he just raps until the very end of the movie. So that was that. And now we come to the final three. And I'm pretty sure you're wondering which are the next two, because the next one is Split with James McAvoy. And as I said before, Split is part of the trilogy. And this time it's about McAvoy, who is a traumatized human being who has dissociative identity disorder because of the trauma he had through his mother being absolutely the worst of the worst. His identities call themselves the Horde, and there is two specific identities that were supposed to stay hidden, but who start coming out throughout the movie. And one of them likes girls. Yes, in that way. And he then abducts three girls in the beginning, and we see the beautiful, amazing Anya Taylor-Joy also getting abducted, and she's like the final girl of the movie. And while McAvoy is trying to navigate his identities, they believe that the beast is gonna come at some point, and the beast will fulfill some kind of prophecy. Like the whole thing kind of also happens in this basement-esque kind of environment, but you see that it's like way bigger than just a basement, while two of the girls who had gotten abducted try to escape and they can't, and then they got locked up and I think they die. At some point everyone kind of dies. And Anya Taylor-Joy kind of survives. And you notice very quickly on that she also has trauma. She was abused by her uncle, and it's very weird and it's very disgusting. And she was only 6 years old, so she carries a lot of trauma with that. And in the end, when she tries to escape, changes into the beast, and you see this is the twist. The twist is that he's the beast, and it's revealed to have super strength and abilities. The second twist is that this movie is in the Unbreakable universe, because in the very end, you see this bar scene, and not bar, it's in a diner, and there is Bruce Willis's character who like references Mr. Glass and says, yeah, he's called Mr. Glass because people are like, yeah, there was this crazy guy and he's in this mental institution, and he's like, yeah, he's called Mr. Glass, and you're like, oh my god, it's in the same universe. Okay, we get it. This is gonna mesh together at some point. My favorite part is McAvoy's absolute fantastic way of being able to break from one character to the next. And I know that it's a bit hurtful towards people who have DID, because it portrays certain personalities as evil. It's a movie about superhumans, and I feel like there should be some kind of leeway of portraying certain characters if you're already talking about something that is anyway not possible in this world. One of my favorite parts was when Anya Taylor-Joy's character escapes with a shotgun, and she hides kind of. And there are these bars between her and the beast, and he tries to strain the bars apart and sees that she has these terrible, terrible scars all over her. And he notices, okay, she's also traumatized. And that scene, every time I watch it, even when I watched it this time, makes me cry just because of the sentence, the broken are more evolved. And sometimes when you feel like you're broken, you don't feel like you fit into society and you're different and you should be ashamed for that and you don't fit in and blah, blah, blah. And everyone makes you feel like you're different. And Anya Taylor-Joy's character throughout the movie is being made to feel different. She doesn't fit in. She's weird. I liked it. And that's why it's in the third place. I also liked Anya Taylor-Joy's character escaping through the zoo cages and not showing any fear of the animals that are in those cages because the real monsters are human. Yeah, so that was Split. And now we get to the final two. Number 2 is Unbreakable. Unbreakable. It is number 2 because Bruce Willis. Let's be honest. I am a huge fan. I always have been. I grew up with Bruce Willis movies, so this should be of no surprise to anyone who knows me. I like it because this movie is about the origin story of a superhero and a supervillain. And I usually prefer my superhero, supervillain stories to be darker. That's why I also like The Penguin. That's why I also like the latest Batman, because there was this very gritty feeling to it that I miss in Marvel movies. And it's the whole comic book good versus evil. You have Bruce Willis, who plays David Dunn, who in the beginning survives the worst train crash in history because everybody dies. Literally everyone dies. And fun fact, which ties back to Glass, but in Glass, one of the twists is that McAvoy's dad was in this train crash and died. And if McAvoy's dad hadn't died in this train crash, McAvoy wouldn't have become split into these different characters. And Mr. Glass knew that, apparently. Get back to Unbreakable. So he's the only one who survives without a scratch, and everyone is wondering what the heck. And you also notice that his son, noticed that he was able to lift weights way more than he should, and he kept adding more weights, and Bruce Willis just kept pumping and kept pumping, and that's how he realized his dad has supernatural abilities. And basically, with the help of his son being just a sweetie pie who looks up to him and really believes, there is the scene in the kitchen where his son has a gun and points it at Bruce Willis and tells his mom, I'll show you, it's real, he really is a superhero. And Bruce Willis is like, I love this human reaction of him just being like, put the effing gun down. If you don't stop it right now. You know the typical way that parents talk to their kids, like, stop it right now. And he just keeps getting louder and louder until he finally puts the gun down. And Bruce, this is a sigh of relief because, yeah, sure, he would have survived, but that with his wife, that was crazy. Yes, one of his abilities is that when people touch him, he can see their intentions. And that's how he knows if somebody's bad or not. And he would never act upon it in the movie until he decides, thanks to his son, to act upon it and rescue some people. And everyone goes crazy. And they're like, oh my God, we have a new vigilante who's saving people. The big twist is that we do see Samuel L. Jackson sprinkled across the entire movie. And again, I love Samuel L. Jackson and Mr. Glass. And the big twist is that the train crash, now we know because I said it before, was orchestrated by Mr. Glass. And a lot of things that Bruce Willis was in and survived were caused by Mr. Glass, to prove that he's superhuman. This is revealed by Bruce Willis shaking Mr. Glass's hands, who at first he thought was an admirer of his, and then it turns out that he's actually the opposite of him. He's like his yin to his yang. So when he shakes his hand, you see this revelation in Bruce's eyes, like, oh no, oh shit, you caused so many lives to be destroyed. My favorite parts about this movie, and it also made me cry a little bit and just get emotional, is when there is this kitchen scene in the end and he mouths to his little son, "You were right," and tears up, and his son just nods. I don't know why, but it made me have the feels. I was not okay. Other favorite part of this movie is Samuel L. Jackson. Just beautiful, how methodical and calm he is as a character. Samuel L. Jackson, more of this. Seriously, you're such a good actor. I don't understand why you had to reduce yourself to bad aiming effort. And I also like the ending where Elijah says in the end, "Now that we know who you are, I know who I am. I'm not a mistake." I had the chills. Beautiful. Just tragically beautiful. So that's why it's in place number 2, because it's a superhero origin story. It does not rely on your typical bullshit blockbuster formula that I hate because it's just boring. Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson just play their roles so well and are so nuanced. Highly recommend. And now we come to the final one. Finally, we're almost nearing the end. And we're ending it with The Sixth Sense. I feel like there is no surprise here that The Sixth Sense is number 1. I think it was the first movie that Shyamalan really broke through, and everyone was like, "Oh, the twist. I did not see it coming." And I feel like he cheated on the twist a little bit. So The Sixth Sense is basically about Malcolm Crowe, played by Bruce Willis again, of course, who plays this child psychologist. And he tries to help Cole, who's played by Haley Joel Osment. He tries to help Cole, who's a young boy who's deeply afraid and suffering from high anxiety. And we don't know yet why. And he keeps running. There is this scene in the beginning where he runs from his home to the church. It was very sweet because you saw a tiny little baby Haley Joel Osment just... Anyway, so he tries to help him through his anxiety and trying to figure out what it is, right? So that's the story. Initially, he's very skeptical of what's happening to Cole. Cole doesn't want to tell him. Oh, by the way, Cole's mom is played by Toni Collette, and I love it because she plays his mom so well. The whole not understanding of what's happening with your child and her like bursting into tears and being like, "What's happening? Why are you... what is going on?" Right? And it's heartbreaking to watch her because she's so good. And in the beginning already, you see a lot of things happening where, for example, she leaves the kitchen to get ready because it's breakfast time and she needs to bring Cole to school. And she comes back and every single kitchen cupboard and drawer is open when she comes back. And she's like, "What the hell?
Looking for, baby?"
She's like, "Did you do this?" And he's like,
Pop-Tarts.
"Okay." And you see that she's trying her very best. And this is what I love about her character, is her character doesn't judge him at all. She does her best to just not be frustrated with the situation and tries to support him in every way. And the worst part is that when he gets up from the breakfast table, you see this sweaty handprint. So you notice already from the beginning of the movie something weird's happening, and he's dealing with a lot of stress. At some point, you notice, okay, I think Cole sees ghosts because he hears voices. For example, he is at this kid's birthday party, which is the worst scene. I hate the scene so much in the best way possible because it makes me sick to my stomach. So he's invited to this kid's birthday party, and you hear his mom saying, "Thank you for inviting him." And they were like, "Yeah." The kids were also like, "Yeah, I had to invite him out of pity," and blah. And then Cole goes up the stairs of this mansion, and he hears a voice coming out from this tiny little crawl space at the top of the house that says, "I'm sorry, master. I didn't mean to. Please do not lock me up again." And at the same time, you have these two kids rushing him into that crawl space and locking him in, and him screaming. It was so well made. He is such a good actor. You just hear him like with these blood curdling cries, like, get me out, please, please." And it just breaks your heart. And then you see Toni Collette rushing up, and she can't open the door. And she's like, "Open the door, open the door." And then the door opens by itself, and Cole just drops out and faints. That was heartbreaking to watch. And then we get another one of my favorite scenes. He lies in this hospital bed with this pink blanket, and Bruce Willis is sitting beside him, and he tells Bruce, "I'm finally going to tell you my secret. I see dead people. I see dead people. And they don't know they're dead." This whole story is so heartbreaking because it deals with anxiety, it deals with fear, it deals with keeping it a secret. So at first, Bruce doesn't believe Cole, and he kind of goes back home. And then he hears this tape of his first patient. So in the beginning, the very beginning of the movie, you see how Bruce got a plaque, best child psychologist, I don't know, some kind of plaque. And his wife is like celebrating him, and they're really happy and drunk, and they're getting back home, and they have a home invasion. And there is this former patient of his who now is grown up. And he says, "Do you know why you're afraid when you're alone? I know.
I do.
And you have failed me." And then he shoots at Bruce Willis. So it's like a traumatic event. It happened to Bruce Willis. And then he goes back to listen to a tape about this patient when he was a child. And he hears this voice. And he also notices that it was getting cold in this room. And then he hears that voice of this ghost because he knows for a fact nobody was in the room with this child. And then he believes him. And he goes to Cole and says, "I believe you." And Cole is again in the church. The church seems to be like his hiding place, which makes sense, because as a child, you learn that churches are like these safe places and safe havens. Symbolically speaking, the church seems to have like this kind of higher power over ghosties to protect them. And Bruce finds him in this church and is like, "I believe you. And I feel like the ghosts are trying to tell you something. And you should help them." And he's like, "What if they don't want to be helped?" And it's like, "You gotta try." And then you have baby Misha Barton as a ghostie who invades his home. She kind of tells him that he needs to help her, and he goes with Bruce to the home where the funeral, it's after the funeral, and the parents are grieving, and you have all these guests, and you see Misha Barton's ghost just shoving a little box out of the bed. And you see Cole going to the dad and saying, your daughter wanted you to have this. And in there is this VHS tape of how we see that her mom used to poison her slowly to keep her in bed. And so that's one case he solved. That's how this problem is resolved, that he faces his fears, and instead of hiding from them, he's actually helping the ghosts, and he's even talking to ghosts now. And he gets this major part in this play about the sword and the stone. And all his classmates who used to bully him now have to see how he is the one who's pulling out the sword of the stone, and the camera pans up, and it's a beautiful thing. It was really nice to watch, and it warms your heart. And one of my absolute favorite scenes is also because you're wondering, is he ever going to tell his mother about it? And we see in the end, his mother picks him up from the play, and she's really sorry because she couldn't be there, but she had to work. And there is this accident. Cole and his mother are sitting in the car, and his mom is like, oh my God, I hope this person is okay. And then Cole looks at her and says, I'm ready to communicate with you now. And then he says, this accident, somebody got hurt and she died. And then Cole's mom just looks at him like, and she's standing right beside me. And then she's like, you see ghosts and they talk to you? He continues and says, Grandma says hi. And she said, you came to the place where they buried her and asked her a question. And the answer is every day.
She said, the answer is.
And the question she asked was, do I make you proud? And that just shattered me in the best way possible. And then we get the final twist of the movie, that Bruce Willis is actually a ghost this whole time. And he notices that because at some point he looks at the back of his back and he sees there is still blood on his shirt. And that's when the realization came that he was actually dead this whole time. And then he goes into the light. And that's the end of the movie. Yeah, and that's why this movie is the best movie, because it has so many human interactions. It's very human. It's very beautiful. It's very, how would you like for humans to act in a situation like that with a child? And Haley Joel Osment is absolutely fantastic in this. Yeah, so there you have it. Number one. Also partly because Toni Collette, Bruce Willis, and Haley Joel Osment just can't. You just cannot do much better than that. So while watching these movies, I've noticed certain things. There is some common themes. He always thinks of the greater purpose of a human and that everything happens for a reason. And I kind of like that, because in a world where there is more than 8 billion of us, it's kind of hard to drown out the noise of we are all just robots sitting in our little cubicles doing our little thing. Surprisingly, I feel like he trusts humanity more than most filmmakers. And I like that he takes this faith on humanity and makes it dark and twisted with this glimmer of hope in the end. He's really good at directing kids, and you notice it throughout the movies. The casting is almost always stellar. He has this magnetic pull, I guess, of people that he can get to act in his movies. His cameos are pretty fun to watch because you're always looking for him. It's like, where's Waldo? Love his camera work. He always tries very hard. And it's nice to see because he keeps trying to put in new elements in every movie that he makes. He is not afraid to try out new things, like in The Visit. As long as there is no CGI in his movies, I guess that's also what spoiled it in Lady of the Water for me. It's good. And I would say just stick to camera. Stick to camera work. I feel like he shines most in his thrillers. And yeah, with Trap, it's very clear that he was highly influenced by his daughter, okay? Just stop overcomplicating things and stop over explaining things and stop CGIing things. And if you do that, I'm pretty sure your next movie is going to be brilliant. Just don't listen to your daughter anymore, please. And on that wonderful note of Sixth Sense, I hope you like this video. And if you want another unhinged recap of any other directors, let me know below. And yeah, have a nice one. Bye.